Pre-foreclosure lead will net us about $40,000 to $50,000, but not without its problems. So here is the fun part of real estate, guys, and things that the gurus don't talk about. Don't always the rainbows and butterflies, but never the bad times. So let's discuss this deal that we have here that we're about to close next week. And I want to go kind of start it off from the beginning with you guys, how we acquired this deal, and going ahead, what went wrong, and it's gonna be a fun time today. So let's go ahead and get started. So we first got this deal from a texting campaign. So we were texting people in pre-foreclosures, people in auctions, and a lady responded. This was in Georgia. It's in a smaller town, a little bit more rural, about an hour from Atlanta. And she responded that she's actually tired of the property. She's interested in selling, and she had her price in mind and everything else. And the nice thing is, the first thing we're going to do a hard money loan. Now, with a hard money loan, we have to put the down payment down, or we have to get a gap lender. We have to pay hard money costs, points, and everything else. But when I looked at the deal, I'm like, you know what? Instead of going through all this, why don't we go ahead and see if she'll accept a creative structure? So a creative structure in this case was we went ahead and did what was called a subject to, where we had paid off her arrears. So she had about $13,000 in arrears. We went ahead and took over the existing mortgage, and we created a mortgage note for her. So for about $30,000. And what that did for us is it saved us from going to apply and get a hard money lender or anything else like that. All we actually did was we ended up getting a private money lender, and the private money lender brought in what we had to bring into closing, pay off the closing costs, pay off the arrears, and put about $5,000 in her pocket. And that way we were able to close pretty quickly versus going through a hard money lender and going through everything else. So if you're ever out there and you think that you have to go through hard money with a seller, sometimes you just got to get a little bit creative, especially when they don't have too much in arrears. In this case, it was, probably closing costs, paying her off and everything else, probably ran us about $21,000, $22,000, which was not bad. So we have people that we work with that trust us, and we borrowed the money, and we're actually giving that person, guys, a 20% return on her money. So she borrowed us $25,000, and we're giving her $5,000 back. Not bad, right? Not bad. And she's also secured on the property. We got the property for literally 60 cents on the dollar. So she, the private money lender, no brainer for her. So here is the ups and downs that we have with this property. So first we got the inspection done, everything else. It's on well and septic. Okay, great, fine. We got the septic inspection done. We got everything completed. Everything looked good. And now we started looking at, taking a look at calling some realtors in the area. So we first called a realtor. She seemed great. She's like, yeah, I can list this property for you guys. No problem, as is. I can do it for you guys for about, we can list this no problem for $230. So we're really excited. As this property listed for $230, all of a sudden we get ghosted by this realtor. Okay, no biggie. So we start calling another realtor, and we found actually a mom and daughter dual team. So you got to obviously get out there and make some phone calls. And they went ahead and started working with us, went into the property, told us what needs to be done to get it listed and things like that. And so we ended up starting the process. In the process, she recommended us a local person named Bobby. Bobby is a handyman. He does painting, he does repairs, he does just pretty much everything you can think of. And he, gave us a quote for what needed to be done. And we went ahead and we used Bobby. And Bobby did the painting, did everything else, and everything went great. He had to mow the lawn twice because we're sitting on almost 2 acres of land. So he had to mow the lawn. And then we started finding out that there's roofs in the leak. So we had to get a roofer out there. They fixed the roof in the leak. Then we found out there's a leak underneath the kitchen sink. We had to fix that. So we fixed that. Then we ended up finding out that there's a roof in some of the pipes in the backyard. So she sent out her. It's crazy because it was all like family based, right? So which is really cool. They're like a very tight knit community. This is in Zebulon, Georgia. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but just very tight knit, small town, right, with people. But what I found out is it's crazy about the need for housing in these towns. So you can't find a lot of comps, you can't find a lot of active listings because no one's selling. Right. But people want to buy because it's affordable. Right. I mean, anybody could really afford a house, even at a 6% interest rate, for $250,000. Plus, the caveat is when you're buying in these smaller towns, a lot of these houses are USDA approved. So if you don't know what USDA is, it's United States of Department of Agriculture. And so what this essentially allows you to do is when you find a buyer, if you have a USDA property, it gets approved for 100% financing. So just keep that in mind. So next time you're looking at properties and they're rural properties, don't just brush them off because there are buyers out there and they don't even need to bring in $1 to closing. Like they get 100% financing. Okay, so that's the cool thing about having a property in a rural town, because buyers will get 100% financing. We started repairing the property and finding out all these other issues, and the bills kept stacking up. We're making the mortgage payments, but the nice thing is, since we took over the mortgage payments were about $900 per month, so they're really nothing. So with these payments being so small, our holding costs are very little or close to nothing, right? So that's why going the creative structure, which was much better for us, because if we went with a hard money structure, we would have, let's say a 12% interest rate, and we would have much higher payments on it every single month. And so the creative structure helped us go ahead and save a lot of money per month. But here we go. So we ended up getting it painted. We got everything done. We got all the leaks repaired, and now comes the fun part. So now we went ahead and we started marketing it, right? And so our realtor comes in and says, "Hey, we have a buyer. We have a buyer very interested. She actually used to live in the area, and her parents want to help her buy this property because she grew up in this property." So that's crazy, right? She grew up in this property. And so they call us and say, "We want to buy this property. We want to give you guys full offer. We're ready to go. We can close as soon as possible." And, and she wants to live there. I believe she had a child as well. And, it was just bringing her nostalgic memories and everything else. And she was really excited. And then the fun part happens. And I always say to you guys, whenever you have a buyer, I always like to ask for the underwriting under DU findings, which is actually the actual findings of the direct underwriting system, whether it's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or FHA or USDA. And the reason I like to ask that is because I get to see the overall picture of the buyer. How qualified are they really, right? What is their debt to income ratio? Because if their debt to income ratio is close to 50%, if the loan officer made one little mistake on their income calculation, whether it was overtime, whether it was bonus pay, whether the borrower was self-employed, which is a huge one. A lot of loan officers don't know how to calculate self-employment income. And I see that. I always want to make sure to verify with their manager, and I see how long they've been a loan officer for, because it's a huge turnover rate in this industry. People come in thinking they're going to make a lot of money, and then they get really burned out because it's not easy. It's a very hard industry. And you have to understand, it takes time to learn these things. It takes time to learn the guidelines. And so the pre-approval means nothing. It's a piece of paper. I could write it and send it off to you and say I'm pre-approved. It literally means nothing. So always ask for, if you can, the underwriting findings, and that way you can really determine if a buyer is a good buyer. Because in our case, what we found out was this. We found out that the buyer not only first tried to tell us that they don't want to put the down payment down because they were putting a 20% down payment down, but that they're backing out because the payments are going to be too high or something along those lines, which they already knew what the payments are going to be based on their lender. Come to find out, I sent over that person to one of my friends who is a very successful loan officer. And here's what he told me. He's like, Mike, he's like, based on his tax returns, which is what they go based off of, he shows almost no income. And so I'm not knocking self-employed people and income because everybody wants to save on taxes. But what did the loan officer do, right? How do they calculate their income? How do they even issue them and even give them any inkling or any sort of anything where they thought they were pre-approved, right? They gave them hope. Which to me is such a bad thing to do because you're wasting so much time of not only their time, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your company's resources, you're wasting the realtor's time on both sides, and you're wasting the seller's time. So why would you do that if you clearly knew on the tax return that the person is not pre-approved? I believe he showed like a couple $1,000s or something. It was something ridiculous. But in this case, I did ask for DU findings. They were very stern on saying that this person is approved and everything else, and so I kind of let it go. But next time I learned my lesson, and so we did get a bunch of offers on this property. So we go to the second offer, right? The second offer is 100% USDA loan. Now I'm like thinking, oh man, 100% USDA loan. They offered us over asking price, but they wanted a $10,000 closing cost credit. What does that mean? That means that they barely have any money, right? So I tell my agent, I say, listen, call the lender and make sure that they are 100% approved before I sign this contract. So she called the lender. She's like, you know what? This lender is very well known in the community. They do a lot of USDA loans. She said 100%, no problem. Their income qualifies them for this property. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust you on this one. We're going to go ahead and move forward. And so we move forward. They get an inspection done. Inspector comes back and says, well, there is a roof leak. There is protrusions in the ventilation. We want a roofing inspection report. So here we go. I'm back at it, right? Calling the roofer saying, hey, listen, I know you did all the leaks, but they found something else. Here's the inspection report. Roofer went out there, got the inspection done again, fixed the ventilation protrusions, got everything done, sent him over the report. We're good to go. Next, the appraisal got ordered, right? So it's a USD appraisal. So there's certain things that you have to make sure that you have. So the USD appraisal was ordered. I'm like holding my fingers. I'm like crossing. I'm like, please, please, please come in. Everything's okay. We did everything. Everything's great. We fixed everything. And I got a call from my agent, and she's like, Michael, the appraisal came in, and there's only one thing. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, Susanna, what is this thing that we have to do? She's like, there are some tacks in the floor in one of the bedrooms, and it's a safety concern, and we have to get them removed. I'm like, yes, okay, only tacks. Cool, no problem. I call Bobby. I'm like, Bobby, I need you out there. I'm going to give you $100. Just remove some of these tacks. Let's get it done. All right, cool. Bobby goes out there. He removes the tacks, sends me a text message. Done. All right, cool. So everything's done. Next is the water treatment, right? Because it's on septic and well. So we get this water treatment done. And water treatment's happening. It's like it cost us like $200. And we go ahead and do this water treatment. And I get a call from Susanna. And she's like, the water test failed. I'm like, really? The water test failed? Man, okay, what do we got to do? We got to send a company off for water treatment. Okay. What's it going to cost me now? $200. Yay, only $200. No big deal. Okay, cool. So we get this water treatment, go out there. They do a water treatment on the they treat the water. I just got a text message today. I can kind of read this to you guys here. It says text message. She says, "Water test passed. We're good to go." Great news, Susanna. Awesome. So water test passed. So looks like we're good to go. Now we pull title. So they wanted their own attorney to do title. So we're like, okay, that's fine. You can get your own title. And here's what happened. So we knew there was one lien on title for $1,200, which we were fine. We're going to pay it off from the proceeds of the profits. However, guess what they found? Another lien on title for almost $9,000. So I quickly email the attorney that we closed with. I'm like, hey, there was another lien now found on title, which wasn't disclosed on our title when we first purchased this property. So we have to fix this. And luckily, guys, this is why you go through title companies and you buy title insurance. So right away, they said we weren't aware of this. We pulled title. They reached out to the underwriting, the insurance company from the title company that they were using. We put each other on the email, and the title company sent an indemnity out saying they're going to go ahead and take care of the lien. I'm like, oh yes, okay, because that was $9,000, right? 9,000 plus 1,200, you have over $10,000 in liens. Crazy, right? So lesson to be learned. Next time, I think I'm just going to stick to keeping with the same attorney. However, I guess in that town, the agent told me that the buyer gets to choose the attorney and title company. So I'm new in that town. I don't know. I'm guys. Listen, I'm doing all this from Chicago, right? So I'm in Chicago suburbs doing all this from here. So I learned a lot, which is cool. So now we're down to the wire. We're down to the wire, and the buyer calls our realtor, says we tried to get insurance, but the insurance companies are giving us these crazy quotes for $5,000 a year because they're saying that the roof is a little bit older. So yes, the roof is older, which they're very fully aware of. Everybody's aware of this, but the roof is in great condition, and there's no leaks, there's no ventilation protrusions, the flaps were fixed, everything's done. So I go ahead, I start searching around, and I send over the insurance companies that I work with, their phone numbers. I do everything I possibly can. I get a phone call back. I get a phone call from Susanna. Mike, great news. They found insurance that's affordable that they can move forward with. Yes. Okay, cool. All right. So that's done. So now we have everything in title and escrow. And now we're just waiting for the final approval by the USDA, which should be happening on Friday. Once that happens on Friday, we have a closing scheduled on Wednesday. And I guess in Georgia, they call it a mail away closing. For me, I just thought it was just called a remote closing, because they just send a notary out to my office or whatever, or I meet them at a Starbucks. But I guess in Georgia, or maybe other states too, they call them mail away closings, right? So we are down to the last wire, and I'm hoping that this is it. But you know what? This is why not everybody could do this, okay? The stress you're going to go through is a lot. The problems you're going to find are going to be great. You have to stay calm, which I have a hard time doing. Sometimes I get very flustered, and I'm not going to lie. But then I sit down and I find a solution, because there's always an email that I get. Always something. Always. I don't care how good the deal is. Always something. So my lesson from this Georgia property is I'll probably first make sure that everything's working properly. I would make sure I get a roofer out there to take a look at any and all leaks if the roof is a little bit older. Um, we also had an AC issue too, and we had to, we got that fixed pretty quickly, so that was cool. And it's so nice because all these people from a small town came together and helped us. It was like one big family. They just kept on referring their friends, their cousins, their uncles, and it got done. It got done, and so we're down to the last wire, as I mentioned before. And so next week should be the closing. So I'm just hoping, my fingers crossed. I've done everything I possibly can to get this to the finish line. So what would I do different if I was going about this? I probably would look at certain things and and just not stress too much about it, because everything that happened got done for a reasonable price. And probably next time, what I would do, since the house was already rent ready, and I probably didn't need to paint it, because I probably could have just sold it to someone that just maybe wanted to paint it on their own, and that would have saved us quite a bit of money too. But I don't know. I don't know. I think we did a pretty good job on this house. The way we did it, we didn't overdo it. One thing that I'm realizing in this game is, don't overdo it. Please don't overdo it. I mean, if you're gonna overdo it, you are you might lose money. Okay, because you don't know how long the house is gonna sit from the market. You don't know what the offers are going to come in at, so just keep it simple. Look at the comps in the area, see what the comps are selling for, what kind of upgrades are being done to these properties, and just copy it. Like, copy it. Don't reinvent the wheel, right? So sometimes just a clean out and a sale is all you need.